It's finally here. It must mean it's a January, beginning of the year. C3i issue number 36. This is going to be the I don't know if it's going to be the 2022 version or the 2023 version of the magazine. I think they announce them in like November, December, and then they usually show up in January. So we'll say 2022. I've been very excited for this one. I saw a little sneak peek of the magazine when I was at SD HistCon back in November. Looks like this is the 30th anniversary of C3i, which is pretty cool. This is a wargame magazine that usually comes with a game and a lot of interesting articles and topics and some counters for a variety of games. So I figured I'd take you through it because I know that's what most people want to see is what do I get in my C3i magazine? Well, definitely you're getting Trevor Bender's Desert Victory North Africa. This is going to be based on the Cursed Tigers Are Burning system that was also by Trevor Bender that came in C3i 34, I believe, a couple years ago. This is the sequel. It also looked great, and we'll go through that as well. So let's crack this open, and I will show you what comes with C3i 36. There's something about C3i that just makes me really happy. It's like a grab bag of wargame goodness. You never quite know what's going to be in here. Lots of cool, interesting stuff. We'll save the magazine for last, but here you go. This is the magazine. On the back, looks like the back of a box for the game Desert Victory. You'll notice that it's got a very GMT style. That's because, obviously, Roger McGowan, who does art for GMT, does the layouts and art for C3i. This is the magazine, glossy cover at least. This is the rule book for Desert Victory North Africa. It's going to come in at about 12 pages of rules plus scenarios and designer's notes. This is your typical semi-gloss stock. Think if you picked up Waterloo Campaign 1815 from C3i or even Cursed Tigers Are Burning, this is going to be very similar. Very similar format. If you play a lot of GMT games, this will be very familiar to you. But it does look to be pretty dense rule book. As I'm looking at this, and it looks like it is going to use the posture selection, which was sort of the innovative mechanic. It's an operational, maybe grand operational game about World War II, but you chose your posture in Cursed Tigers Are Burning of the entire army, and based on which posture you chose every turn, that allowed you to do certain things and not do certain things. Which is pretty cool. So excited to get that to the table at some point for the channel, maybe play it face-to-face. I still have to play Kursk, which I do own. Player aid, this is your CRT, your combat procedure, the key for units, and then on the back we've got the terrain effects chart, two of these. Looks to be not too complex of a game. Here is the map. Let's get this open and I'll show you. Nice big hexes, as you can see. So here's the map for Desert Victory North Africa. Turn track up here, looks like each turn is about 3 months, so we're talking about a very large zoomed out scope of time, 10 turns total, taking you from 1940 to 1942. We've got a sequence of play here. This is where the German player is going to sit, their unit holding boxes. And then we've got the actual playable area, which is kind of a strip right down the center. We're talking about Libya and Egypt for the most part. Here's Alexandria over here, and I imagine Tobruk being here. So talking about the bread and butter North Africa part of the campaign in this particular part, which is kind of cool. Not a lot of terrain. Looks like it's been abstracted quite a bit in terms of the scale that we're playing this game at, which is kind of cool. We've got the more German. Looks like. Interesting. Looks like we got, depending on which side the German player wants to sit on, we've got that, and then we've got the Allied unit holding boxes here. So I guess you could play sitting on the same side of the table, which is actually, I mean, it makes sense, right? The map is meant to be read one way. Turn record chart here looks like where you get your supply replacement points, what happened historically, and a little abbreviation. So it doesn't look like too complex a game. I really like the big hexes. I'm gonna move that up for a second so we can keep going and see what's in here. This is a supplement. Oh, interesting. This is an SPQR game variant. This is interesting. Skirmishers, Velites, and Light Troops Revisited. That's fascinating. Did not know this was going to be in here. What does this mean? What is this all about? Naval architect working in the marine business in Milan, Italy. I'm talking about his wargame history. I'm very curious what this is. I have not read up on anything about what this is. He's played all of this SPQR, most of the SPQR battles, it looks like. Let's see. Guess there's a variant. That's pretty interesting. So it looks like it's an alternate system for using light troops, slingers, velites, African light infantry, Moorish archers. Here's a little diagram talking about the physics of projectile trajectories as from this period, which is kind of interesting. The weight of the projectile, the kinetic impact. a lot of research, clearly, physical research clearly has gone into looking at this. I'm really interested to read this. This is a really fascinating supplement. I've never seen someone take a system and design like a whole specific unit subsystem for the game. This is kind of cool. It might be interesting when I get SPQR out to see what effect this has. So there's some optional rules. So it talks about velites and Samnite light infantry becoming skirmishers rather than light infantry units. That's interesting. And how you can apply this to simple great battles of history, it looks like. Updated victory conditions. So if you choose to play this variant, the different scenarios, looks like it's going to alter sort of the balance of unit values in the scenarios, which is kind of interesting. I'm actually really fascinated by this. What an interesting piece of design. I'm going to read through this. So yeah, all the scenarios and how it would change the victory point flight levels in SPQR. Very cool. I think that's really neat. Here is a player aid card, I guess, if you're using this variant. Missile range and results. Huh. Is this just like a very... This is one of the most interesting things I've seen. Clash of Spears and Swords. This is a standard GBOH player aid. It must be using the new light troops. It must make some changes. All right, and then the thing everyone has been waiting for, and that is the counter sheet. This is going to include all of the goodies. So first of all, right away, we can see that the Trevor Bender's Desert Victory counters are here. These are really nice big counters. These look like 3/4 of an inch. Let's punch one. This is the high quality brown core stock that GMT's been using, so same stuff here. So here we've got the Libyan Corps. So it looks like Corps level units here. Some division, 7th Armored Division. We've got an Africa Brigade here. Very similar to the Mark Simonich 1940 series in terms of iconography. We got infantry divisions. It looks like the Italians are at Corps level. Armored brigades. Pretty cool. So here's what one of the units would look like in a hex. So these are big units, right? These are 3/4 of an inch units inside of what look to be full inch big hexes. So this will be a really nice one to play. Very visible, very big on the table. I like that. All right, let's talk about what else is on the counter sheet here. So this is all Desert Victory. These are all markers for the game. Then we have got, I believe, these are the corrected counters for Pacific War. Air, looks like a bunch of replacement Japanese Army and Japanese Navy air units. Dutch air unit here. We've got Commonwealth, these are New Zealand perhaps. Commonwealth air units and infantry. We've got some corrected ship counters, it looks like, or potentially additions. We've got some Australians, and then U.S. Army and U.S. Navy there. And then this would be all of the stuff that came in this insert for the light troops. So it replaces a lot of the velites for SPQR for each of the different legions, giving them skirmisher status rather than light infantry. So this one, it's interesting. This counter sheet, not quite as varied as other C3i counter sheets that I've had, but I think this is a really nice package, especially if you like GBOH or if you want to get this new game. I know that Cursed Tigers Are Burning is very well regarded, and this one looks to be a lot less dense from a counter perspective, and also just like much more playable from the size. So we're going to get this played at some point. This would be a good sort of like convention game, I think, for me when I go to Game On next month, where I'm going to be doing a bunch of stuff, but if I have downtime, bust out a game of this. Anyways, that is what you get in C3i. Oh, let's talk about the magazine. I didn't talk about that. Let's see what we got in here. A lot of articles. So I won't flip through the whole thing, but we've got the editor's note. We've got an article about war game combat results tables, Twilight Struggle Red Sea article by Jason Matthews, the designer. I just played that for the first time. Interested to see what he's got to say about it. An interview with Avalon Hill game designer, Randall Reed. Gerald Buchanan has an article about Snakes and Ladders. That's his column, Snakes and Ladders. So rules as written. Some stuff about Blind Swords, which is cool. Taking on Perryville by Jeff Grossman. I believe Jeff Grossman is designing the Perryville game in Blind Swords. That one's over at Revolution. I think Steve Carey was the designer of A Greater Victory, perhaps. Can't remember which one Steve designed. Japanese opening attacks in Pacific War. That would be good if you're interested in Pacific War. A game preview. This looks like it's a GBOH scenario potentially that's coming up. Charlie Kibler, I'm really keen to read this one. This is an interview with Charlie Kibler, who's a map artist. Charlie Kibler does just incredible map art. He's the guy who did all the map art for Library of Napoleonic Battles. Those are some of my favorite wargame maps. He's worked on a ton of stuff. Very curious to see what that article is all about. Wargaming in the land of Eurogames. That sounds like it might be a fun article. Ricardo Massini, I really enjoy his presence on social media. He's got a lot of interesting stuff to say. Mark McLaughlin, War and Peace and Napoleonic Wars. That one's also very interesting because I know that GMT is working on a 3rd edition of Napoleonic Wars with him. And obviously War and Peace is one of his magnum opuses. He's got many, I guess. His magnum opus, I guess you would say. War and Peace, a core level Napoleonic campaign level game that I enjoy quite a bit. A lot of good articles in this one. HisCon 2022 trip report by Trevor Bender. This is where obviously we saw Desert Victory, or I did the first time. Curious to see what he's got there, if you get any photos he took. And Ardwolf, everyone's favorite Ardwolf, an update on the Charles S. Roberts Awards, which if you're not following, Ardwolf is now on the board or running the Charles S. Roberts Awards, giving it an air of professionalism and prestige, and I know that he would laugh if he heard me say that. Counter sheets. We got the desert, so this is explaining, page 26 will explain what's on the counter sheet, so let's go there next. All right, here we go. Here's what's on the counter sheet. We got the Desert Victory game markers and counters. We got 40 counters for the SPQR Light Troops variant. We got Pacific War corrected counters and new counters. So the corrections for Pacific War. 2 new counters of the 81st and 82nd WA Infantry Divisions. Those are the ones that were Commonwealth New Zealand. And they come in as reinforcement. So he tells you here they come in February and December if you're playing one of the strategic scenarios. The rest are corrective counters, which if you own Pacific War, you're going to be happy that you have those probably. And then, yeah. So I figured you'd be interested in this if you want to get some reading about war games. There's a lot of good stuff in here. I think this issue is one of the more interesting to me from an articles perspective over the last couple of years. So excited to dig in. Look for some coverage of Desert Victory sometime this year. And congratulations to everyone involved in getting C3i 36 out the door.